Hey guys, welcome to Clockwork, Noodles for another breakdown of Solo Leveling episode 6. We are halfway through the season. That means there's only 6 to go, and oh my goodness, this episode was a turning point for sure. Also gotta say, there's a lot of really good things I want to break down in this video in particular. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and apologies for the delay. My life has become so busy, it's ridiculous, and I had to just bump everything sideways. But I am back on schedule, hopefully, and hopefully there won't be too many more disruptions to the release schedule. My midway review is now up, so go check out that video. In that video, I've crowned top 3 OPs, EDs, current standing of animes, and hopefully you guys don't disagree too much. But I had fun making it, so I feel very confident about how I've ranked everything so far. But it is only halfway through the season, so things can change. Go and check out if Solo Leveling made any of those lists. Let's get straight to it. And my goodness, I had one hell of an episode in store for me. I had a few people who had watched it prior to me, so I've been avoiding people just because I don't want spoilers. I want to really go into this. First thing I wanted to mention was just that beautiful blue palette once again, because of how cold the story really is. The blue really works this week in particular with the topics that really do come up in the hand. I also want to give credit to the voice actor, just because even in that opening scene and throughout the entire sequence, the delivery is just insane. His growls, his screaming, the powerful voice, like Jin's got a voice, but when Jin goes battle mode, he has a voice. Jin just refused to back down. And I was starting to wonder who the guy's brother was. And I initially put it's the S-Class dude that we've seen who looks like Endeavor. And I'm wrong, but also we do see his brother this week. Anyway, from presumably the back, we see him at the end, and I think he's related to the guy who is now deceased. But I did wonder who the kid guy, the guy in the armor's relative was, because apparently it's somebody quite rich. I don't recognize the name because I don't think we've actually met them by name. It could also be the old guy as well, the old guy who has the chauffeur who he ended up having a dueling match with, which just showed you that you don't mess around with old guys because he still has it. I do think all these people's names are going to become very important at some point. I just didn't quite know who was who, and I still don't. The false hunter concept was interesting because it plays into that darker human aspect that we've been warned about, even with the girls having their lunch this week. Gifted the idea that people lurk with these very unsavory intentions and the idea of a false hunter. I initially would have thought it would have been to gain more riches, being able to do lower battles and going wherever you want, but I guess that doesn't quite make sense. They are just in it for the kicks, and I don't know if they would just turn on people and try and get the loot for themselves, perhaps by lying about them. That is quite scary to know that people can actually lie about their manners and stuff. Now, adding the stamina handicap in felt quite nice. I didn't actually want Jin to go god mode just yet, so seeing him backing down and realizing that I can't move, I'm running out of stamina, I'm going to slow down, and as soon as he hits 70%, his stamina really did just slow down and he actually gets pummeled into the wall at that point. I thought that was nice to see that buff, but then as soon as they mentioned the full recovery, I was like, okay, never mind, forget I just said that, because that completely just outdoes what I mentioned. He does state that he's just been camping his rewards. I have a habit of playing games. I tend to spend my rewards too quick, so I really wish I had this issue in games where I just forget that I've gotten things. The screaming at this point during that spider fight was absolutely insane on another level. If it was just going to end there, I would have probably been like, best fight in the series so far, and I would have gone straight into talking about how awesome the flow in the battle was. However, the episode wasn't over. We suddenly had the bosses coming back in. The dungeon just didn't vanish, and I was like, I thought the dungeon was supposed to vanish because the spider is now dead, but it doesn't. And then that's when I got questions about these windows that keep appearing in front of Jin, and the fact that they seem to be conscious, to the fact that they know what he's going through. They know what the situation is now coming up. The fact that they made the turning of these guys into a game, and they even rewarded him at the end as well, was really, really sending shivers down your spine, because there's clearly a higher being, a higher something watching everything that has this omnipotent power. Maybe once they're in the dungeons, it becomes this game situation. Higher beings or people are able to watch it. But it would also imply that once you're in the dungeons, you have this ability to revive people. If you do this, we won't let you die. Your heart's also gonna stop if you don't. Lots and lots of questions there. So let's go into that final chunk where it's against humans. And I think there's a point in Attack on Titan where it suddenly becomes human versus human, where things get real. Jin has to kill people. You're like, oh, this is getting insane, and I don't know what effect this is going to have on Jin's psyche. It's going to be interesting to study. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it affects him. Often enough, the MC will always stop at killing people, but I guess in the sense where if he didn't, his heart would have stopped. I guess he didn't have a choice, but oh my goodness, this is insane. I absolutely love the song that starts to play too. Beautiful. I love the loose keys. You got this really high keys that are playing on the piano, which sound very disjointed. How twisted and messed up the entire situation is. The vocals are haunting, absolutely gorgeous. I love the fact as well that it starts to get going as he starts to wipe out the other players. And when he first took the first life, those faces were my face, because I wasn't expecting him to do it, but I also knew that if he didn't, he would have died, and that obviously there wouldn't be an anime if he did just stop right there and it was a game over. Absolutely insane, mind-blowing sequence of him literally wiping them out one by one. And then, of course, going into the final guy. This is the guy I think is related to the guy who looks like Endeavor, I've been calling him, the S-Class guy. That's scary, because I'm like, is he gonna suspect that there's been foul play? Because he obviously might know his brother's strong. Is he gonna maybe be aware of what the guy's been up to? I would be really sad as well if that S-Class guy does know that his brother has been murdering people and just been fine with it. I don't like that. It was quite rich when he said, you're not going to get away with this. Like, dude, you have been killing many innocent people and just wiping them out like they're nothing. That's very rich coming from you. The ending where she's all like, oh, it was the guy wearing fancy armor. It must have just been you. That was like, oh my God, why? Why would you just presume that he hid behind him? That's sad. I do really want Jin to actually test his level at some point, though. It needs to happen. I really want to know where this guy sits. He must be somewhere quite strong if he's wiping out a C-class boss. My mind is blown right now. Just when I thought solo leveling would fall into this kind of lull where it's going to go in a cycle, this will happen, something always happens that makes me go, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting a fight between the guys. I was predicting the spider would just vanish. They would just be thrown back into the real world and they'd be like, oh, it didn't happen. Or they'd try and brush it aside and be like, nothing happened. There was obviously the fight against the humans where Jin takes his first life and now he's taken 6 lives. The guy then turning around calling him boss because he's freaking out that the guy's also going to go after him because he presumes he's a psychopath or a false hunter. That was so funny. It's like, oh my God, now he's calling you boss. That's just weird. How far is Jin going to go? But I did like the fact that as soon as he got out the dungeon and it was raining, the first thing he thought about was, oh, I'm so glad I gave my sister that umbrella. Nice return to reality, but how is killing people gonna sit with him now? I guess he kind of went into this zone where I was in the fight, I was just, focused on what was gonna happen. Is it gonna come back and haunt him in his dreams? Fantastic episode. I'm glad that I managed to escape some of the spoilers on this one. I was really nervous about waiting a day to actually watch it, but thankfully I didn't see any. I've had a headache when it comes to spoilers lately. I hate spoilers. There's nothing worse than spoilers, especially when you're getting into something and then somebody comes along and goes, oh, this happened. And I'm like, well, why, dude? I hadn't got to that bit. I want that impact for myself. I want to experience those chills. Fantastic episode. I will see you guys again next week for another breakdown. I don't know where we're going next. I can't even imagine where this show goes. That's a good thing for me if I can't predict what's going to happen. See you guys again soon. Bye, guys.